Thank you all for joining us today for our second Shane Foundation event. Can everyone hear me okay? I'd like to thank you all for your support thus far. Our first October event was a tremendous success. We had 150 people and raised $65,000. With your support, we were able to write an impressive check to our partner, the March of Dimes. The Shane Foundation specifically wanted to partner with the March of Dimes because of their immense international reach as the largest organization working to support maternal fetal health. Our funds were used to redo and greatly expand the March of Dimes web pages covering maternal fetal blood clotting disorders. We are very pleased to have a March of Dimes representative here again. Welcome, Allison Sprafkin. Whether you were at October's event or not, I'd like to remind us all why we're here. The Shane Foundation is established to raise awareness and support research for the treatment and prevention of contraceptive and pregnancy-related blood clotting disorders, which are responsible for miscarriages, low birth weight, stillbirths, and maternal deaths. My parents, Roberta and Arnold Gold, and I started the foundation in honor and in memory of my sister Shane and her unborn son, who were lost to us as a result of this totally treatable illness. While Shane was taking the oral contraceptive Yasmin, an almost undetectable swelling in her left thigh turned out to be a deep vein thrombosis which reached her lung, causing a life-threatening pulmonary embolism. Quick action and treatment saved her life. 18 months later, she became pregnant. At about 16 weeks, when normal coagulopathy increases for all women, Shane began having unrelenting headaches. This condition was eventually diagnosed as a cerebral venous thrombosis, a CVT, which is a blood clot in the brain. She was hospitalized and received anticoagulation treatment, which began to control the CVT, but this treatment was not enough to prevent the fetus from being affected. Unfortunately, none of Shane's doctors realized the serious fetal risk. Near the beginning of Shane's 7th month, the fetus died because of severe placental clotting. A C-section surgery was performed, during which Shane's necessary blood-thinning medicine was discontinued far too long, allowing the CVT to become massive and causing her death. Had Shane received a higher dose of blood-thinning medication from the beginning of her pregnancy, and had doctors used fetal monitoring techniques designed to detect fetal clotting issues, it's likely that both Shane and her baby would have survived. A supposedly harmless contraceptive drug had initiated a clotting condition leading to a series of events that cost Shane her health, her child, and her life. She was 31. I want you to know two things. What happened to Shane was avoidable. If Shane had received information about maternal fetal clotting or clotting due to contraception, if Shane had understood the dangers she was facing, if her doctors had communicated with Shane better, if her doctors had communicated better with each other, if. I want you all to know something else. What happened to Shane is not a freak occurrence or some medical anomaly. Blood clotting disorders are common. They can be either inherited or acquired. About 20% of people in the United States have a blood clotting disorder. Up to 5% of pregnant women have an acquired blood clotting disorder called APS, which contributes to up to 20% of pregnancy loss. These statistics notwithstanding, there is as yet no standard for universal blood testing prior to prescribing contraceptives or C-section surgery. We owe it to Shane and the countless thousands of women similarly affected and to the millions of babies miscarried or stillborn to ensure that this diagnosable and treatable condition does not continue to destroy lives because of a simple lack of information. I'd like to introduce my mom, Roberta Gold.
I'm not as tall. The idea for our spring project began to formulate in my mind last fall, soon after our launch event in October. Those of you who were there might remember the impact of Dr. Duani's comments. He is our medical advisor. And he made comments regarding the Shane Foundation's mission as a typically ignored women's issue. This was followed by Shane's attorney, Lori Andrus, pointing out that the drug companies often give doctors free samples and that doctors often hand out birth control pills to young women like they were passing out candy. Shane's case brought me to the stark realization that there was a huge disconnect between the latest medical research, state-of-the-art medical practice, and what really goes on between the average woman and her doctor. We now know that Bayer suppressed the research showing that their newer contraceptive drugs produced a huge elevation in the risk of blood clots. We also know that accurate blood testing can often predict if a woman is susceptible to dangerous clotting from hormones in contraceptives and during pregnancy. And best of all, we know that the correct dosage of blood thinners can save both mothers and babies from clotting and preserve fetal health. All this leads to an even greater disconnect that we are going to address today. And this is the 3 known clot-producing killers are in fact all related. The 3 that we're talking about are those caused by the hormones in contraceptives, pregnancy-related blood clots, and the clotting disorders that adversely impact and can kill fetuses. Shane is a perfect example of how all 3 of these can converge. The January issue of Vanity Fair that some of you may have seen carried a stunning story about a 24-year-old athlete who died from a pulmonary embolism resulting from her use of the NuvaRing contraceptive. The last paragraph of that article is actually about Shane. The contraceptive issue is finally getting some publicity, but this is only because of the huge lawsuits involved. No one is writing about stillborn and miscarried babies. So, I was pleased when Vanity Fair published my letter pointing out that they were only telling half of the story and that the danger extended during pregnancy and impacted fetal health. I mean, if you're one of these 20% of the people with a blood clotting disorder, you could be subject to any one of the 3 issues. This is when I realized that there was simply no excuse for this information to be convoluted and inaccessible. It is. It's very difficult to get your hands on it, any of you that go searching the internet for it. And that it was necessary for the Shane Foundation to get this information directly into the hands of women and their doctors. Knowledge is power. If women are made aware of these issues and understand some simple questions to discuss with their doctors, we can make a great leap forward in taking this issue out of the realm of scary technical medical jargon. We have 2 guests with us today who have had firsthand experience with how lack of information can cause disaster and also how simple, correct treatment can save lives. First, I want Emily to stand up. Emily Smith drove all the way up from Orange County, and she Emily actually has, I believe, the genetic form of the disorder, and she lost a child at about the same number of weeks as Shane. And she has quite a story to tell, which if you have any time after, I urge you, please talk with her. We're thrilled that she made the trip to be with us today. Second, I want to introduce Sharon Feist, who is one of our great supporters of the foundation, and she was actually a friend of Shane's. And she posted a letter on our website that was so moving that I asked her to read it to us today. Sharon, would you share that with us, please?